Welcome to Small Business Accelerator, the podcast where we help small businesses create more new opportunities and win more new business. Today's topic is creating a new business development culture where the sales team has the right mindset to win new business. Join our hosts, Blair Carey, founder of InsideCRO, and David Wuensch, founder of EPOCH Sales Management Solutions, as they dig deep with today's guests from Viachem, CEO Mike Efting, and the VP of Sales and Marketing, Dan Cadenhead.
So, Mike and Dan, again, we appreciate you joining us today. A little bit of background for you. As you guys know, at EPOCH Sales Management Solutions, we focus primarily on working with B2B business owners, typically businesses up to 250 employees. They may or may not have a sales manager that we would end up working with also. Our goal is to help those business owners make their sales team better. Our focus in 2021 is in the area of helping small businesses create more new opportunities. That's the area we're digging deep in. You know, as a company, my philosophy, currently is around get the leadership and culture right, get the strategy right, get the people right, get the processes right, select and implement the tools that support those processes, people, and strategy. And so right now what we're trying to do is focus those essential elements at the specific problem of creating more new opportunities. And I guess one of the terms that we've coined is building a better all-bound sales team, leveraging customer success inbound and outbound. And in the first stage of that process, one of those elements is creating the right new business development mindset or culture. When I read Mike Weinberg's book, Sales Management Simplified, where he focuses on culture, he tells a story of running into this CEO named Robert. And Robert had this amazing organization, and Weinberg was just super excited about it. And then Robert shared with Mike, everything flows from culture, and culture is everything. And anybody that I, discuss this topic with, I say, but in Dallas, Mike Efting and Viachem is the company that came to mind when I read that chapter. And so that's why I've asked you to join us today and talk about that. And we're interested in, what have been the keys to your success in building such a good mindset and culture?
So I'll start. Dan can add to this, since Dan is one of the victims of our culture. So he started young. And one of the things that I learned early on is that the easy way to hire a sales force is to hire experienced salespeople in that industry. And typically that's the lowest cost. You get a bigger bang for your buck, always looking for that person that can hit, have a lot of irons in the fire quickly. And I've always learned over the years that the easy way is not the best way. And so I always so we hire salespeople that are right out of school, or ideally have a couple of years of sales experience. But I don't want them ruined yet, because I want to teach them how to sell the way that I discovered you needed to sell the sales process, and the culture to sell our product, or our specialty chemicals to manufacturers of goods. Mm-hmm. And so I like to say, I don't, want to hire them already ruined. I want to ruin them myself. But that's a harder role. So we always have to hire young people that are just out of college or have a couple of years. And so we start from scratch. And most of our salespeople are millennials, and we have to understand that they're different than, say, I was. In a lot of different ways. And so one of the things that I think that if people like Dan or Bob or some of our other salespeople stay here longer than a typical salesperson, or they enjoy working here, I think it's a couple things. One is our mission. So we do have a defined mission. We want to change the way chemicals are bought and sold, and we have demonstrable processes and feedback from our customers and our suppliers that we actually do that. So they're part of a bigger thing, and they understand that, I think, and we try to help them understand that. And then we have mission and purpose, and the purpose is they understand what their role is in achieving that mission. And so we invest in our salespeople, both in the sales training part and in, understanding how they measure success and helping them be successful in their business life. And because they're young millennials, we also, I think, help them become successful in their personal life in a lot of ways, because we are a family. We do operate with kind of a sense of humor. We have a fairly strategic approach to the business, which is different than others in terms of sales. We meet every week formally for sales meetings, and we help our salespeople be successful in a way that I think is sincere. So we put money in their bank on a regular basis. When I say money in their bank, I mean we help them grow. And so when we need to take some money out of their bank by being very clear in areas where they need to grow or they need to change their process, we have the currency to do that by kind of stepping on their toes without ruining their shine, so to speak. So I think we can have pretty direct conversations with our salespeople, and they don't take it personally. They know we love them and want them to be successful. And when it all comes back to culture, I kind of think it's not my style, but it's kind of a love thing. I think people know we want them to be sincerely successful. And if they're successful, we're successful. And it puts us in a different environment than being adversarial with them or where we're their boss and so we're all kind of on the same team, wanting everyone to be successful with a clear mission. And if something defines our culture around that, or people find that attractive, it's the kind of environment I want to work in. When I was in sales, I remember the first sale I ever made. And I went to a sales meeting as a young salesperson in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and my sales manager said, we're going to start selling small bulk tanks. So customers that are using drums, we want to put them in bulk. And that way the customer won't have to pay drum deposits. There's a lot of advantages to not handling drums, using drums, to have it delivered in small bulk. Think of a melt truck, delivery versus buying it in cartons. And so I bought into that, and I went out and I sold my first customer. I remember having a discussion with them. They were a great prospect. They bought into it. They gave me the order to do it. I went back to my boss and I said, I just sold three tanks to this customer. The first time my boss said, well, wait a minute. Do we have the tanks? And I said, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of your deal. Well, now, did you tell him that it was going to be 6 months before we get the tanks? Well, no, I didn't know that. Well, did you check their credit? Because, we got to have good credit. But I mean, the guy took the wind all of my sales to where, heck, I don't even want to sell it anymore. And I learned from that. I learned most of my lessons from bad sales managers, because most sales managers suck. They got an ego issue, or they know they're not there to work for their salespeople. They're there for their salespeople to work for them. And so I kind of learned that, and I tried to develop a sales process and culture that helps our salespeople learn and grow without. I used to say, you don't have to motivate them, just don't demotivate them.
What I hear there, Mike, is the importance of not being a hero, but making heroes out of them.
Yes.
I think
you got to know them individually. You got, and take the time to understand them. And since we work together every day, we go through the challenges as a team to solve a customer's problems and be creative in our problem solving. And I think I am very creative in the way we solve problems. I've seen it all, I think. I know I haven't, but I've seen a lot. And so I can bring that to the table and help them be excited about becoming more professional and successful in their sales. Dan, what do you think about some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously I've worked for Mike for 15 years, came in as a technical sales rep, selling candle wax to candle manufacturers.
Before that, what were you doing when you came to work here? You graduated from Oklahoma State, did what?
Yeah, before that I was selling telephone systems door to door, cold calling, getting kicked out of buildings, escorted out for saying no solicitation. And it was a way to, really learn how to handle objections and how to handle defeat, because there was a lot of defeat.
So
that's for sure.
Just to validate the culture there. So I'm just curious, Dan, your college classmate friends that graduated 16 years ago, about how many companies have they worked for?
On average? Probably on average, 2 to 3, maybe 4. It is unusual, that for someone like myself to be in a role or within the same organization for 15 years now.
Wow. And Bob, the director's been there for 13 years, and it's the only company he's worked for, right?
Correct. Yeah. Bob Wills, director of our food, beverage, nutrition groups, right, with the company now for, I think, 13 years. Yeah, that's correct.
So I guess what else would you add to have been the keys to Viachem's success as far as building the right sales culture, the right new business development mindset?
Yeah, I think so. Number one, you've got to find the right people. You got to find the individuals that both have the qualifications to fulfill the job, but also the mental aptitude to work in the industry we work in, and that are motivated by the same things that we're motivated by. Working for Mike for 15 years now, he's a very genuine person and he's a very honest person. And some people react really well to those type of leaders and some people don't, because, as Mike mentioned earlier, being told, hey, you need to try it this way, that can be humbling. And sometimes people, their egos don't allow them to be humbled, even though Mike's got a lot more experience than they do. And he's been through a lot more battles, so to speak, than they've been through. And so, so a lot of that happens during the interview process, finding the right individuals. And, we haven't been perfect, but we've also, I think we've done a good job identifying qualities and traits of individuals that can be successful in this, working for Viachem for a very long time.
What's the right stuff you're looking for?
Well, I tell you what, from a sales perspective, the number one thing I look for is the ability to ask good questions and then listen well. I think, when you think of salesperson, your generic salesperson, you think of somebody who's a real slick talker and real smooth, and there's some of that to it, but the number one quality that I look for is someone who can ask good questions. They can listen and then ask good follow-up questions. And that's really how you start uncovering pain points, is by asking good questions.
So that's that concept of what we call having a curious mindset. So
Right.
Having genuine curiosity and wanting to connect with people. And we talk about the different kinds of personalities, whether someone's an introvert or an extrovert, or whether they're more amiable or more forceful, or whatever the case is. We find out that really the tone from the top is really driving what the actual culture and mindset looks like. If the top of the organization has the mindset that they're going to do everything they can, and I heard Mike say this himself, help his existing sales team members to be better in whatever they need to do by providing them with whatever resources they are. And realistically, we're all battle buddies, right? We're all out there fighting every day to try and serve our clients as best as we possibly can and serve our marketing communities as best as we possibly can. That's one of the things that I'm hearing, Dave. I don't know about you.
Well, absolutely. Of course, I've had the opportunity of talking with Mike and Dan on different occasions, and hearing that stuff. Dan's talking about right stuff. Of course, one of my favorite. There's a lot of different favorite stories I've heard from Mike and Dan over the years, and of course, Miss Sydney Wheeler came to interview with you guys, and I enjoyed the story of how you went to investigate that stuff, and you guys can elaborate on how you go about learning about people through examples such as having her sell dogs from a dog shelter. So I don't.
Yeah, Mike, go ahead and tell that story. You told it earlier.
And we just talked about that for some reason. It came up. So one of the things we want to do is just get a sense of their ability to persuade on, they're not trained yet. They haven't learned what we hope to teach them, but we want to get a sense of it. And Sydney did a great job in that we told her that we're going to ask her to sell something that she's comfortable selling. What is it? She said, well, she liked dogs and she worked with the Humane Society and she'd like to sell, someone on the prospect of adopting a dog. So we told her, okay, tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have three different people. You're going to sell them on adoption of a dog. And the thing that jumped out quickly about Sydney is she didn't try to sell them. She learned about them first. So she asked good questions. Where do you live? What's your lifestyle? What are your hobbies? What do you like to do? And all these things that versus just start selling. Because what we talked about last week was the amateur salesperson starts selling the moment they talk to a customer, and the professional asks questions and the selling part comes at the very end, after they've gotten to understand their customer and how their customer operates, needs, and all those things. And so she did it that way, instinctively, asked a lot of good questions. She was developed rapport very quickly with the person. And I think they actually thought about maybe adopting a dog, and that she recommended the breed and the whole thing. And so that was one of the things that attracted us to Sydney. Also, Sydney's ability to learn and to be open to learning, because they have to. They start from basically scratch and they build a territory. So we're with them building a territory. They don't our typical salesperson doesn't come in as not a maintainer. They got to go grow it with our help. And again, having a separate, for a long time, we had a separate team that was doing the qualifying and prospecting like Blair talked about. And we used the internal resources and external resources to do that from various databases. The other thing that I think is interesting to explore is, and I don't know how this impacts culture or our ability to retain good salespeople, but we are inside sales. And so versus outside. So I remember as an outside salesperson, if I was upset about something or I was frustrated about something, I'm out by myself in a car thinking about it and dealing with it, where our inside salespeople are right here. We're dealing with it, as things happen. And I think that inside sales is the future of sales. I think outside sales is kind of diminishing with ability to digitize information, communicate with our customers. Our customers are becoming more millennial, which means they're used to communicating more digitally than face-to-face all the time. Doesn't mean we mix it up a lot, but I think that the whole inside thing kind of is our sales process on purpose. I won't get into all the reasons we have to have inside versus outside, but I think we kind of, our inside sales process, along with what important to millennials, and our customers being millennials, and our salespeople being millennials, I think we kind of hit it at the right time. And so an inside sales force has different dynamics, I guess, to manage than an outside sales.
I want to come back to how you keep it going, but before we get there, I am interested in, we talk about, the people with the right stuff and things of that sort. What do you find are the key metrics, in the process to help, lay out what the expectations are, especially in the areas of new business development?
Dan, you're the sales manager.
You talking about like during the interview process?
No, I'm just talking about now. You've got them on board. I mean, as far as what are the key metrics you put in place from the beginning that you're looking for to help?
I understand.
Guide people?
So, with our industry and our business, generally there's no cold call closes. It's a very, medium to longer term sales process. So, we talk a lot about, especially when they're new, they've got no other distractions. They're not dealing with paperwork. They're not dealing with, a shipment that got misplaced or, paperwork that was messed up. Their number one job is to develop relationships, contact prospects, and start working through the opportunity pipeline. And so we spend a lot of time on opportunity pipeline management. All of our customers, we've got to submit samples. So we're talking about how do we position our product to get to the point where, the customer wants to take a sample to approve the product, and working through those processes. And that's really when someone's new, someone's starting out, it's all about pipeline management. How many people are you contacting? How many people are you having genuine conversations with on a daily basis? Because, sometimes your skill will develop, hard work makes up for a lot of that early on.
So you're talking about activity measurement. Is that right, Dan, is what you're talking about at the beginning?
Yep, activity measurement.
And if I could just take one more quick step back to talk about the sort of the cultural side. Mike, you mentioned something as it relates to investing back into your people. And Dan, I'm sure that as the main person working with the team members, you're responsible for the strategy execution on that side. Can you give me examples of some of the things that you're doing that your sales team knows about, or they could tangibly say to you, hey, yeah, I know that Viachem was actually helping me grow better in my profession?
So let's narrow it down a little bit more. You're asking, how do we
look? I'm on your sales team at Viachem. Okay, I've been there for 8 or 9 months. How do I know that, or how do I get the feeling that Viachem is investing in me as much as I'm investing in what I'm doing for Viachem?
Yeah, so Viachem does a good job of, number one, setting clear expectations early on. Mm-hmm. We also do a good job of providing, both short-term sales training, Mike and I, so internal sales training, but then also we invest in outside sales training for those individuals. And, but I think really, if you go back to the culture of Viachem, the open door policy, if someone's stuck on a problem, someone needing help on a solution, having the ability to come in my office, come in Mike's office, and getting, real-time help on real-time problems, and, really sitting down with that sales rep and spending the time saying, okay, hey, what's the issue? How do we fix it? How do we come up with a solution that works for them, that works for their customer? Mm-hmm. And that builds credibility long-term, and that builds trust. And, when you're genuine about that, helping that person grow, it's amazing the relationship you can develop and the trust you develop.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I know David's going to ask this question, so I'm going to steal his thunder a little bit. You talked about how at the beginning of the hiring process, a new sales representatives, their role is basically to prospect, have as many, and I love the term you said, meaningful conversations with people within their prospect base on a regular and ongoing basis in managing the activity. We all know that full cycle sales executives can get into this, what I call the boom and bust cycle, where they spend, so generally the beginning of every quarter starts and they realize that their pipeline is empty. They prospect like mad for the next 4 to 6 weeks. And all of a sudden they're starting to having all these conversations, and they're starting to being asked for proposals and quotes, and they're going through legal and they're managing the pipeline. And then about halfway through the quarter, they've got this massive bulge in their pipeline, and everything is looking rosy. And then they come to the end of the quarter, and a few things get closed, and a few things get pushed, and a few things get pushed to another quarter. But we're back in the same situation we are at the beginning of the next quarter, where there's nothing in the front end of the pipeline. How do you guys help your team members make sure that doesn't happen? How do you develop that new business prospecting mindset?
Yes, that's a good question. So we've got a very specifically designed CRM system that works well for Viachem. Mm-hmm. And that measures a lot of those things you just mentioned. So you're talking about, how many samples have we sent out over the last week, month, quarter? How many new opportunities are in the pipeline? How many new conversations? So new opportunities develop. So we may not have sent out a sample, but we've got a new opportunity we're working on with a client that's in the pipeline. Mm-hmm. So you have to be very specific. You have to take the time to really get a big picture look at your pipeline, because, one of the things we talk about here is when you send out a sample, it may take some customers 6 weeks to approve the product. It may take them 6 months to approve the product, depending on their industry they're in, the amount of paperwork that needs to be done from a regulatory standpoint. All those things we can't control. We can't speed up how fast a product gets approved through an FDA registered facility. But what we can control is how many we're getting in the pipeline.
Right.
And so a lot of times, once it's in the opportunity pipeline and the product's being approved and it's being put on a shelf for stability testing for color, we can't speed that up. But we don't have to worry about it either, because the outcome is what the outcome is going to be, and that's going to happen in 2 or 3 months. Let's get more in the pipeline, because we could find some that may take 2 or 3 weeks to approve. Then there may be one that takes 18 months to approve. And depending on the customer you're targeting also will greatly impact. So, if you're targeting a tier 1 name brand beverage, that's going to be a 2-year sales process. So you can't have all 2-year sales processes. So you've got to be diversified in your approach, got to be diversified in the product portfolio you select. And that's part of my job and Bob's job, to help coach them through to make sure each individual has short-term, medium, long-term targets, and big brands, small brands, medium-sized brands they're focusing on.
And I guess the other thing I did here, back to that question I mentioned about metrics before, while in the end, we're all looking for sales, that gating part of samples and new opportunities I hear jumped out. So I'm sure you have metrics that you're tracking those to where you're trying to make sure that we always have enough new samples going out the door and enough new opportunities that we're setting up, so that we don't end up with that roller coaster effect that Blair was talking about. Now, Mike, you used to do some contests around things like conversations and things like that. Do you guys still do that today, or is that?
We started out with a lot of different contests. So things to make it interesting and fun, I think. So one of the things we settled on was our spin board. And so our salespeople get a spin for a certain size first order, certain size being the gross margin generated on a first order, or a mega spin, which is a larger amount, has a larger floor of gross margin you have to earn for a mega spin. And they really look forward to those. They challenge me on keeping the board fresh and with fun things on there. For a mega spin, there's a trip to Mexico. And so it's a $2,500 trip for two for a week at a, all expenses paid Mexican resort or wherever. Or it might be, what are some of our biggest spends? About $500 cash.
We've got Yeti coolers, and we've had iPads and iWatches and Amazon gift cards.
That process of doing the skin, and we make a big deal out of it. We're on video. We're doing a Zoom call on Mondays at our sales meeting. Who's got spins? And whoever has a spin, talks about what that sale was, and then they get up and they do the spin. And I may challenge them and say, would you rather have a spin or the spin that's in my desk drawer I haven't posted yet? And that confuses. Sometimes they like that, sometimes they don't. Wait a minute. Or they may land on one and I don't like it because it's not a good one and they had a good sale there. They worked hard on it, so they spin again.
Yeah.
Or something like that. But I think we try to have it fun. We have ping pong table in our office because we're inside sales, working all day, gives us a chance to blow off some steam. We used to have a lot of tournaments on ping pong, more than we do today. We look for creative ways to make it fun to be successful selling chemicals. And part of that is challenging our salespeople and providing them with new challenges. Like Dan, who's grew up through the ranks. I think that Dan probably wouldn't be here if at the right time we didn't have the right new challenge and responsibility for Dan to take over and manage a certain product line, or be responsible for a couple salespeople, or work his way up to VP of sales, and then start adding new challenges to that role in terms of expanding it and broadening it so he can learn more about not only managing the sales team and growing the sales team, but also about our business and our treasury strategy, or our working capital needs, and those kind of things that are not so typical of what a sales manager may be in. But for a small business, working capital and having, access to cash is critical. And
100%.
so, we want him to learn, how does your role impact that? How does your decision on what products to inventory impact our working capital? And why is working capital even important? And how do we measure the cost of that? And we talk a lot about gross margin in our business, but my focus is on return on employed capital. And so how does that relate to inventory, how customers pay, what customers pay well or not, et cetera. The other thing that I think that we do is we don't allow too many excuses. We find ways to solve problems. And when our salespeople, one of the things our salespeople have to do is fill out a 20-page document for buyers of food grade chemicals. And it's an audit, and it's a pain in the butt because typically you have to send that to our producer partner and we never see it again. And so they can't move the sale forward until that's done. And so one of the things we did is I will do it. You send it to me and I'll get it back to you within 24 hours. Come hell or high water, I'll find a way to take that barrier out of the sales process. And so I think they like that. That is different. And no other company does that. They send it to the producer and then they wait. And so we provide solutions to those kind of barriers to sales for our salespeople.
Yeah. And I think, that's all going back to, our interview process and making sure we're qualifying individuals correctly, because not everyone is made to work in a small business. We've got to wear a lot of hats, and those hats change hourly, and you've got to be able to take off one hat and put on another, and just go with it and as Mike said, not make excuses and make decisions. And sometimes, a lot of people crumble under the pressure of having to make a decision. And, a small business, your decisions impact not just me, but, they impact the whole group. And so they're magnified, and some people don't like that spotlight. We're looking for individuals who, like the spotlight, who like the pressure of having to make decisions and having to make, hey, we're doing this and this is how we're going to do it, and let's go.
So you've kind of brought us back to the hiring and the right stuff. I was listening to you guys talking, and I've heard, Mark Robert say when he had started off HubSpot sales, and the 5 traits that he was looking for was coachability, curiosity, intelligence, past success, and work ethic. And those were the 5 he had at the top is what he was looking for. And I've heard a lot of the same things in your descriptions of what you're looking for.
I think those are our top 5, except for the
past
history
success.
or past success, because they haven't had a lot of business success.
But he didn't stop at business success. It could be athletic success. It could have been, he used the term past success specifically because it didn't have to be success in his industry.
It didn't even have to be success. It can be that they entered the ring and learned, the hard way. Maybe they failed, but they tried. I know that I've hired a lot of successful athletes over the years. None of them have worked out to be good salespeople. So we thought, wow, they're disciplined, they learn well, they take instruction, but that particular success never worked for me. And I've hired people who are all different levels of semi-professional golf or football, college football, or soccer, and I've never had good success there.
Mm-hmm. So let's ask that question, okay? Not everybody works out. What happens when one of your team members, it appears that they're starting to slip in terms of their process? What's that methodology look like for you guys to help them get back to the path of success for them?
Dan, have we had someone who looked like they were going to fail and we brought them back? I think when we see that they're not going to make it, we know they're not going to make it. And we have a conversation with them that this probably is not the right place for you to work, or this isn't the right job, or they figure it out. I think we hired a person who was a very smart, aggressive I'd say ambitious, young. What was she, a Vietnamese?
Yes.
And she was too smart for our business. Should have been in a scientific lab, but she wanted to be the best salesperson we had. She told me that I want to be your best best salesperson. I love that attitude, and we really worked with her. But there was a time after about a year when she came to us and we came to her, and we both knew that it wasn't going to work. Her place is in a lab developing, chemistry versus selling chemistry, and it worked out well. And I think that one of the things that's unique is everyone we've either fired or didn't make it here, we're still friends with, and they still come to the office and see us.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, what else? We're coming up to the end here. So I guess, Dan, what else would you like to share about Viachem, about your culture? But I mean, what else would you like to share with the listeners about this topic or otherwise?
I don't think I have much. I think we've covered a lot of ground here on culture and hiring the right people, and I don't have much.
I'll say this. I'll finish with this. One is we looked for ways to differentiate and help our salespeople differentiate their pitch or differentiate their conversation with a customer or their approach to the customer or our sales process that kind of excites them because it is different and it gets results. And that's important. And so helping them be successful like that and doing it in a little bit different way, that's a little bit out of step with how normal companies operate, by not getting bogged down in bureaucracy. When we need to make a decision, we make it in 10 minutes. And we always have that. I think there's a sense of urgency here that we know that things got to go. We got to be moving the sale forward, and we got to have a plan to do it. And we want to see results that it's happening. And so I think that resonates with the type of salespeople that we hire, and we retain salespeople. We really don't. I can't think of anyone that we've lost that we didn't really want to lose.
So if anybody out there knows a young recent college grad with a chemistry degree, or what other kind of degree?
Technical degree, biology, chemistry,
chemical biology degree that just might decide instead of being a chemist, they want to try the world of sales. Viachem's a great place to go, right?
I think so. And we take it very seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
And, and as Mike and Dan both know, I stumbled across one of those that was a neighbor, and she's been at Viachem for 5 years now, or going on 5 years.
Yeah, a little
What
over
made you
5
think that
years.
Sydney would be a good fit at Viachem?
Say again?
What made you think your neighbor would be a good fit here?
Oh, we can't tell that story. No, that's it. Actually, that just her. Well, I knew she was a chemistry, and her personality I just felt like she fit. I mean, I just felt the fit.
She's a lot of fun. She's serious. She's smart. She does fit in here, and I'm trying to make her mad. I've never seen Sydney mad. I can't see her being mad about something, so we're trying to find something that pisses her off.
Well,
Take away her animals.
Well,
yes, maybe that's it.
Yeah, take away that would make her mad. But she's but anyway, I guess that's one of the things I would leave with the listeners. Anybody who knows a young chemical grad or biology grad that might have a future in sales, they ought to get a hold of Dan and Mike and have a conversation and see where it goes, because it's probably a win-win, or very possibly a win-win.
Most of them that come to work here with that description don't think we're ever going to have a career in sales. It's something they never thought about. Right. And we teach them how to.
You're right. Because Sydney probably had never considered sales until I said, you need to go meet Mike Efting and at least network with him. That's really where it went to. So, hey, we appreciate you guys taking time today. We're already here at the end, and anyway. So, thank you very much.
I hope you can edit something out of this to make sense for you.
Yeah, me too.
We'll do our best.
On and on about a few things.
We've also learned from some of the things we've been doing along the way that, heck, we'll just leave the recording on because we don't know what we're going to say off the recording that we wish would have been recorded. But,
right.
I felt like doing this would be served twofold. Number one is we're trying to promote the whole the whole concept of culture and new business development. But I'm hoping it gives you guys a video you can use in recruitment.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
I mean, that's what I'm hoping you could take out of it. At least that's what I hope when we put it together, you can turn around and say, hey, you might want to watch this and see what you think.
I hope you can make me sound a lot smarter than I really am, David. So I appreciate that.
Well, you are wearing an orange shirt.
Yeah, I am. I went bold.
All right.
He's an Oklahoma State graduate, and he wears a lot of orange.
Right.
But always a pleasure to see you guys. And
Thanks. Nice meeting you guys.
thank you very much, you guys. You're welcome to get on with your day. You take
All
care.
right. See you guys. Thanks.
Bye-bye. So, Blair, what'd you think of our Viachem guys?
Look, I think that they have sort of a secret sauce there in a very special market, and they have a good sense as to what they need to do. I really like the concept that they have about hiring new people and training them and building them from the ground up. I love the concept that Mike said about how the easiest path is to hire somebody with the industry experience. And I see it so many times amongst small business leaders today where they're like, the first sales hire they're going to hire is somebody who is actually already within the industry, already has a ton of contacts, because they think that that's the quickest path to revenue. What they forget, though, is that that person brings all of their own idiosyncrasies and all of their own preconceived notions as to what's going on with the industry and the market. And I love the fact that they've decided deliberately to go away from that methodology.
Right. Absolutely. His comment was the easiest way isn't always the best way.
Absolutely. 100%.